How to stop snacking on sugar and grazing throughout the day. Look, if you're trying to shift weight, you know that typically grazing and snacking throughout the day is probably not going to be helpful. And without just saying you need more discipline, I'd like to give you a couple of really important strategies to improve your structure of meals throughout the day and help you either shifting body fat or sustaining your energy. Now, if you don't know me, my name's Ollie. I'm the founder of The Body Reset, and we've worked with thousands and thousands of busy humans over 40. Now, looking into the deep sort of lifestyle design factors of improving your energy and shifting body fat without just going through another restrictive diet requires you to look at designing your meals in a way that are both easy to do on a repeatable basis or consistent basis and in a way that you actually enjoy it so you don't want to look back, right? If you're going down the dieting route where you're simply restricting food, you're starving yourself for certain hours of the day, you might be able to do it for 4 weeks or 6 weeks, but I really want to make sure we build a strategy to work long term. And I think snacking is a big culprit that tends to come in here. So first I want to look at sort of where are these trigger foods or snacking foods typically coming in? Well, the first one from a drink standpoint is really common, right? If it's a really big creamy milky coffee, these can have a huge amount of calories in them and certainly can cause a lot of sugar spikes and just way more calories than you'd expect to be in one of these drinks. The second part can be a lot of these artificial sweetened drinks like a Diet Coke or soda, where even though they don't have any sugar in them themselves, you're going to notice that there's two things that happens. One, because it's so sweet, you need to have other sweet food in your day, otherwise everything feels bland. And secondly, because it's an artificial sweetener, you get an instant response because your body is expecting sugar and then nothing comes through. So you're going to notice that your tendency to have more sugar is probably a little bit higher. So drinks are a first one. The other ones that are common culprits are going to be more of the processed foods like our chips or our crackers, or maybe even moving towards really the whole foods where we're trying to eat healthy. So we're leaning towards nuts or fruits, but we're noticing that we can easily eat way more calories, a lot more fat because it's very calorie dense in one meal throughout the day. It's very easy to have a couple handfuls of nuts and to easily add 500-600 calories to your day without really feeling like you've eaten anything, right? So these are really where a lot of these culprits come through. The three suggestions I'd give you here is one, really putting an emphasis on a high protein, low carbohydrate breakfast, or at least low sugar for breakfast. If you find you feel okay on your oats or muesli, that's fine. But if you're trying to reduce sugar at least, this can make a huge difference to both your energy from that first meal, because a lot of people, if they have a very high carb breakfast, they might be good for 30 minutes and then they dip again. That's where they need another coffee or more sugar to have a bit of a pick me up. And then that volatility sort of continues throughout the day. So I'm a really big fan of the protein and fat dominant breakfast, sticking to more your eggs, or even sometimes, your avocados, your nuts, your smoothie options where you're a little bit more sustained from a fat standpoint, and potentially even keeping your fruits lower in that first meal. So you're not getting a big fructose spike from something like bananas or apples that can be very common as well, right? And this is really dependent on body fat and age and activity as well. If you've got really high body fat or you're not moving a lot in your day, I tend to push more of the fruit either lower or later in the day. Otherwise, you would typically notice that your energy is not so good, right? So big first emphasis is by anchoring in a really good quality, high protein, sort of fat sustaining breakfast as opposed to high carbohydrate. You'll notice that your energy is way more stable through the day, and so is your blood sugar. So your cravings and tendencies to kind of need that pick me up will be lower. The second one I want to bring up is going to be breaking up your day with a walk or a stretch 1 or 2 times throughout the day. It's been very much shown that if you just work from 8, dragging through right till 6, 7, whatever it might be, and you're always just go, 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 always focused on work, you're going to notice that as soon as you come up for air, you're either one, very hungry and you choose the easiest option, or two, it's more of an accumulation of stress where your body's going to find a way to try calm that nervous system in some form, and that grazing is going to be much easier than sitting down for a full, structured meal. Simply, willpower is lower. So by bringing those pauses into your day with going for a gentle walk, it could be 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. It could be a quick stretch in the lounge or in whatever office space you have there to just get a bit of blood flow, breathe, and really regulate that central nervous system to just recalibrate that overall energy center that you're in a good spot. Now, there's a really less direct link, I guess, to what that looks like from a craving standpoint, but give it a go, and I promise you'll see a direct difference in your tendency towards better food choices and just feeling more conscious of what you're eating, what you're fueling that body with, if you take that time to pause and breathe throughout your day. And the last one we want to bring up of these three is going to be each meal having protein. One of the huge things inside of our Body Reset program is the simple phrase, where is my protein coming from? And I think it's something that I still very much use now. It's so ingrained into how I think that I'm not just going to have let's just use Easter that's just gone through, at least when I'm doing this video, is if you have an Easter egg by itself, it's quite easy to have a very sugary, crappy Easter egg and then want 2 or 3 more and then kind of feel, really not so good after you've had a few of them. Whereas if you have a meal and then you have a Easter egg after it or during it, you'll notice that because you've got a lot more protein and fiber, not only biologically, you will notice there's significantly less of a blood sugar spike by itself, you'll also notice that your tendency to just want one and then stop will be significantly lower. So the general rule of thumb is, where is my protein coming from should be a really nice way to know that it's not actually a complete meal until you're adding protein, and it really allows you to drastically reduce your ability to continue grazing and just eating more and more food, because sugar by itself, or highly palatable foods, your yogurts, your chips, etc., don't give you a trigger to stop. But if you've had 200 grams or 150 grams of steak or some sort of chicken salad or whatever it might be, you've already satisfied a lot of those micronutrient and total sort of volume of food factors. So your body's going to be like, cool, I'm not really in need of something more, but if I want that little sweet touch on the side and I've got an Easter egg as an example of that time period, you might notice that you can have one, enjoy it, and you're done, right? Certainly for me, coming from someone who spent 5-6 years in very much a focus on trying to build as much muscle as possible and eating a significant amount of food to get there, and a really big rowing and even triathlon background where for periods of my life I was eating a ton of food just to perform. If you're in that boat, or you've been that sort of past athlete that really had to eat a lot more food, sometimes taking the time to make these subtle switches in how you eat in your day can be so helpful in being mindful of the total volume of food you now eat, right? The other side is also true, is if you're used to eating nothing, this higher protein aspect might require a little bit more of a nudge to eat even when you're not hungry, but it becomes more of a tactical snack around how we can increase protein in order to have that key base in place, so that you don't just undereat all day and then try catch up on calories and snacking throughout the day, because it's typically one of those two categories quite sort of separated down the middle. Is one, we have this background of just eating a lot of volume of food, so as soon as we eat, we don't really have that trigger to stop. So being more structured with meals and having that protein base is going to be helpful, in the same way that if you tend to undereat or fast throughout the morning and you notice that grazing and snacking comes in the afternoon, again, that emphasis on protein earlier in the day, even when you're maybe not hungry, is going to be a really, really great way to stabilize that blood sugar and energy throughout the day and significantly reduce your urge to snack in the afternoon. Okay, so big two theories or concepts from today is going to be careful where those foods come through, because if you are eating those highly processed foods that don't give you the trigger of when you are full, or maybe they are the healthy options, but you're just eating them in the form of, say, nuts or something where the fat content is so calorie dense that you're eating significantly more calories than you thought. So that's sort of the foods that we need to be aware of. And then the second one being more the strategies that we'd suggest to help you really structure your day in a way that you feel more in control of your meals, you're more prepared or structured in a way that you're fueled and sharp throughout the day without the need for the pick-me-up, and you'll notice that your cravings are significantly lower, provided you're not just looking at a bag of chips or lollies all day. That general structure will significantly help, all right? Little side asterisks on this as well, the type of exercise, the type of stress you have in your day is also important. So if you are doing a ton of volume of circuit classes, cardio, etc., reducing it a little bit, bringing a little bit more weight training, and really putting that intention towards the walk and the pause and that bit of more recalibration of movement throughout the day, as opposed to just, sweating, can make a huge difference as well. We do see that come through a fair bit. So those are kind of my big three. I hope you find that helpful. If you want a couple of ideas in regards to protein options for breakfast, I'm going to drop a link below for you to check out our high protein ideas. Gives you 4 or 5 different recipes that you could at least try, being super simple, ones I typically use and a lot of our clients will as well, to find higher protein options typically for breakfast that really will make a significant difference to your day. And we tend to find breakfast is the meal that most people struggle with. All right, so check that out in the link below if you find that useful. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one. See you guys.